All right, my friends, welcome back to All Cars Reacts. We are continuing our mid-2000s mid-size mini-series with the 2008 Chevy Malibu. We've done the Camry, the Accord, the Altima, Passat, Ford Fusion, Mazda 6. It's time to go back to American white bread, butter, apple pie, the Malibu. I'm interested to see what they said about this one when it was brand new, and I've already got thoughts about it, but I want to hear what they have to say. And I want to say up front that this is, because it's General Motors, it's a shared platform that was used with multiple different cars. So I could have done the Pontiac G6 or the Saturn Aura, for example. But the G6, I did the convertible version a few weeks ago now, I guess. And the Saturn Aura, I think I've made it clear that by this point, Saturn was near death. And, well, it just wasn't Saturn anymore. It was just another division. So if we're just doing a division of General Motors and we're looking at the mainstream family hauler midsize sedans, well, we might as well do the Chevrolet. So you're going to want to get comfortable in your comfy chair for this one, I believe. You're going to want to grab your beverage of choice, except it's not this today. That's empty. Today, just to blow your mind, Premier Protein. That's right, because the 3 tacos I ate last night was not enough protein, so I'm drinking one of those this morning. Surprise. Let's get into it and see what they said.
Your host for Motorweek, John Davis.
Well, hello and welcome again to Motorweek. We're glad to have you with us. By now, you've probably heard about the 2008 Chevrolet Malibu. This all-new family sedan is out to prove that the Bowtie brand hasn't forgotten how to build highly desirable mainstream cars, and that this Malibu is a serious competitor for market leaders Toyota Camry and Honda Accord. Well, you know all the hype. Now let's see how the Malibu's facts shake out. The Chevrolet Malibu's transformation for 2008 is nothing short of remarkable. With all new looks, a super solid chassis, coupled with robust performance and even a hybrid model, this 4-door sedan could become a real force in a mid-size segment that's ruled primarily by monarchs Toyota and Honda. The new Malibu shares its updated Epsilon front-wheel drive architecture with the Saturn Aura. The generous 112.3-inch wheelbase is stretched 6 inches over last year. Its sophisticated and forceful appearance will turn heads, yet shouldn't upset those comfortable with segment leaders Toyota Camry and Honda Accord. Fit and finish are excellent, with somewhat richer aesthetics than rivals. The Malibu's new silhouette flows gracefully from front to back. Rims range from base 16-inch steel wheels to up-level ultra-bright aluminum 18-inchers. Inside the rental car look...
All right, before we get to the interior, we've got to go back and talk about this. So what to say here? I'm usually critical of General Motors, and I want to make something very, very clear. I do consider GM often a styling leader among mid-level brands, okay? What I mean by that is certain manufacturers do certain things well. And if you look at this, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and you look at a GM car, and there was a lot of not great ones. You can look at it and be like, that's not a great looking car. But if you put it next to, say, the Ford or a Plymouth, or even the Japanese cars, suddenly the GM car looks better. The use of chrome, the style, the proportions, they, in my mind, for most of my life, they've tended to make very good looking cars. Now, they have had some stinkers along the way, and the previous generation Malibu was one of them. Just really disliked it. And this car represents a couple of different things for me. The first is that GM stopped trying to build the best midsize car. Okay? That there is an argument that during, say, the 80s or even the 90s, they were trying to recapture the glory of being number one, but at some point they realized we just need to compete against the Camry. We need to be as good as the Camry, not to be better, not to excel, but just to match it. And the other thing is this is right before the Great Recession, right before the economic collapse. And GM did a lot of this, of using a platform, because this also underpinned the Saab 9-3, as I recall, plus an Opel and a Vauxhall, and maybe one other one in there too that I'm forgetting. But that platform underpins this as well. So is this a great Chevrolet in America platform? I don't think so. And so I think the problem was they were spreading the cost around of what is a good platform, but not an exceptional platform. And so you end up with a good car. Now, I say that because I think this car is homely. And I think it's homely in the way that a lot of the criticism I had of the Passat. This looks thick, right? It's not ugly by any stretch. But if you think about the sexy Mazda 6, you think about the Accord, that just a little more bright work and looks a little more, maybe elegant is the word. And then you look at the Passat. This has a lot of the same thick doors here. Like the belt line is really high. They're kind of slab-sided. The windows look narrow on the side. And they don't really talk about it, but I hate the taillights here. I'll try to find a picture real quick. And the nose, going for the idea of the split grille, putting the bow tie in there. I don't have a general problem with it, but this, it just looks kind of fat. Like it's just got a big nose on the end of it. Compare this with what Ford was doing with the Fusion. Now, you might think this looks better because it looks more mainstream, not as out there as the Fusion, but at least Ford was trying something where here it was like somebody described a Toyota Camry and this is what the artist came up with. I do think it looks better than the Camry. And I think it looks a little more cohesive, perhaps, than the Sonata. But I can't say I love it. Now, a couple of generations before this, I really like the style of that car. And the last generation Malibu, I love the style of it. I did a whole video, I think, over on the main channel talking about how I hate that it's gone and they're not replacing it. This one just kind of falls into that meh category. I'm going to step off my soapbox now. Thanks for listening.
Inside, the rental car look of the past is no more. This spacious and dramatic cabin features a sweeping two-tone twin cockpit theme. Deep-set gauges and smart-looking controls add to our LT model's true premium appearance. And extras such as an information readout, auxiliary jack, and top-of-the-dash storage show the designer's high level of attention to detail. Comfort comes from well-cushioned seats, tilt telescopic steering wheel with controls, plus available adjustable pedals. Premium standards include OnStar, noise-reducing quiet glass, and a full complement of 6 airbags. The rear seat offers room for 3 adults, but overall feels a little more claustrophobic than Camry and Accord. There is a standard 60-40 split and fold feature to expand the Malibu's class-typical 15.1 cubic feet of trunk space. The smallest trunk opening is the only shortcoming here.
So since they're moving on to the road test, let's see something here. So, trunk size. It's okay. You know, that's they say class typical. That's right in line, right kind of in the middle of the ones we've looked at. You know, the Japanese ones are more in the 14 and a half. The Sonata was more up in 16, and so was the Mazda 6. It was 16.6, I believe. So 15.1, that's a good size for a midsize sedan. No complaints there. And because I've pointed it out on some other brands, I want to point out that the articulating arms here are not the goosenecks. They did go through the trouble of doing something with shocks to open up the space in the trunk. That's That's attention to detail, and we need to give GM credit where credit is due. Back seat, it's small. They dance around it, but if you look at the Accord, the Camry, everything else we've looked at, and the fact that they stretched this one 6 inches, the wheelbase, and they still end up with a back seat that there was like that much space between the back seat and the guy's knees. This is a small back seat. Is it adequate? Yeah, a full-size human fit back there. And one of the big flaws of the previous generation was it had a miserable back seat. GM got more serious about it, but it's not class leading. I don't say it has to be, but it's a little tight. All right. Front seat. I think the dash looks good. I'm going to go back. There we go. So the opening up on top of the dash, I kind of like that. I know one of the other, I don't remember which one of the other brands had something similar, and I think I was a little critical of it, but it's a handy little place. It just makes the interior look a little more rent. It makes the low rent. It makes the interior look a little cheaper. But if you are looking at this as a family car, that makes a lot of sense to be able to throw, little tissue packs and things like that up there. And that is where my criticism of the Mazda 6 came from, that perfectly fine car that handles and good and looks great. But if you're looking for the bread and butter mid-size sedan that's a fair price, I think this fits it a little bit better. You know what I'm going to say? I kind of want to say something about the gauges being in a circle with chrome, deep set, sporty looking, right? But at least they put one right in the middle so you can see it. It kind of works for me. And this center stack right here, big knobs, big buttons. Fundamentally, there's nothing really wrong here. And GM has the key in the dash like this, not up on the column. I don't have a problem with this interior. I liked this interior. There's a few things that I think are kind of dust catchers, and I think that they made some decisions that were to ease manufacturing. And of course, I'm going to say the silverized plastic they've got here in the middle. But what they did do is they beveled it a little bit. So you end up with, instead of just a flat piece, you end up with something with a little bit of contour to it, a little bit of elevation and shadows. It kind of works. Okay, I don't love it, but I do like this interior.
Under the hood, the Malibu redefines itself with 3 engines. The standard 2.4-liter double overhead cam 4-cylinder with variable valve timing will be the most popular. It's rated at 169 horsepower and 160 pound-feet of torque. Our LT tester boasted a 3.6-liter twin-cam V6 with VVT, which throws out 252 horsepower and 251 pound-feet of torque. Malibu's gas-electric mild hybrid model also uses the 2.4-liter along with a hang-on starter generator motor. The standard transmission is a 4-speed automatic. Camry and Accord have 5 speeds, but a 6-speed auto is optional and standard with the Malibu V6. On the track.
So GM engines of this era, I don't have a exceptionally high opinion of their durability. All right. I don't have a big problem with them. And certainly the numbers that they're creating here are all essentially mid-pack for everything. Like, certainly for the V6, the Camry, the Accord, let me double check here, the Altima, the Passat, okay, and the Mazda, they all make more power from their V6, but they do make more power than the Fusion, for example. The 4-cylinder is thoroughly competitive with anything else out there. And they don't really talk about the noise, vibration, and harshness. Maybe they'll get to it here in a minute in the track testing, but Chevrolet has managed to produce a car that is competitively styled, competitively sized, a competitive interior, and competitive engines, except for that transmission. And this is another little example. It's not the end all. I'm not going to beat this horse a little too much, but this is an example of GM can't always get everything all right at the same time. They've made a thoroughly competitive, product, and then they are one gear down compared to the imports. That's what they just said. You have the option, but they didn't get that last detail to smack the imports in the mouth. Relatively minor complaint. Let's see what they say about how it performs.
Our V6 Malibu hustled from 0 to 60 in 7.1 seconds with a fine family car quarter mile of 15.6 seconds at 95 miles per hour. While the four-cylinder is slower, it too delivers more than ample performance. Out on the street, all Malibu engines proved impressively quiet, with each transmission delivering smooth, nearly invisible shifts, traits Accord and Camry are famous for. The Malibu's all-independent suspension provides agile handling for slicing through cones and traffic, and without compromising ride comfort for the daily commute. The electronic stability control is perfectly calibrated, straightening things out with surgical precision. While we found Malibu's overall cornering prowess superior to Camry, it still felt heavier than the benchmark Accord. Malibu's steering, however, is delightfully quick and well-weighted. Braking was also up.
Before they get to the braking, let's talk about this real quick. Good performance. I have no problem with it. One of the things I'm gonna be honest here with y'all for just a minute. I thought that doing a whole line of these in order, it helps you to be familiar, not spread them out over 3 months, right? But the problem is, increasingly, I'm looking at these results and I'm watching these and I'm like, these are all flavors of the same thing. That's how competitive this mid-size sedan is that, okay, the 4-cylinder is competitive, the 6-cylinder is competitive, the handling, the braking, the noise, the everything, they're all so competitive with each other. It starts to come down to taste and flavor and feel, which is something that you can't get through the screen. And I'm reaching back 17 years into my brain to try to remember why I didn't like this as much as I like the Fusion. It's an impossible task. This car is thoroughly competitive with everything else out there. Now, the Slalom, I will say they were complimentary, that it handles very well without interfering with ride comfort. And they point out exactly what I was saying about this is a family car, but that it feels heavier than the Camry. But watching it go through the slalom, it looked like it was all over the place. Might be very secure, might not feel that bad from inside, but from the outside, man, it was leaning, it was waggling. And when they did the quick lane change, I've talked about this multiple times, rear end wanted to swing out, right? It did this instead of tucking as it went through. The handling on this is possibly the furthest we've seen from sporty sedan. Maybe they're complimentary of it, but it looks, to my eyes, like a mess. And I want to say, kind of hurts my feelings what they said about the transmission. They said shifts were almost imperceptible. Something that Toyota and Camry have always, Camry and Accord have always done well. I take issue with that. The Accord and the Camry, their transmissions got better, but GM has a long history, decades-long history of creating some of the smoothest shifting transmissions in the industry. Did they lose their lead in the number of gears and performance and some others? Sure, yeah, okay. But they've always made smooth shifting transmissions, at least the ones I've ever driven. It hurts me that one of the few things that I think GM excels at, they still had to say like, yeah, but Toyota and Honda, that's something they're known for. That just, as a proud American, that one just kind of rubs me a little wrong. Let's see the braking.
To the task, four-wheel disc with ABS. Our car averaged an excellent 116 feet from 60 to 0. Halts were fade-free, laser straight, and very controlled.
Hold on. We all need to stop right there, right here. I'm giving them, again, I know I criticize GM a lot, deservedly, okay? That deserves applause because all the other ones, 125, 126, 130 feet, whatever it happens to be. They were all so close to each other, and they all were straight and drama free, and it became kind of boring. Again, it's a flavor of what you want because they're all doing exactly the same thing. GM comes out and they're 10 feet shorter than anybody else. In the world of buying a car, that's not going to be the deciding factor for anybody, probably. But they deserve congratulations for what they did right there. They beat the best of the rest, at least on braking. Congrats to them. That was really an impressive distance.
Government fuel economy ratings for the Malibu 4-cylinder are 22 city, 30 highway. The hybrid 24 city, 32 highway. Our thirstier V6 scores at 17 city, 26 highway, with a real-world loop of 20.9 miles per gallon on regular grade gas.
Okay, for the 4-cylinder, that is really good. They've kind of mixed and matched 4 cylinders versus 6 cylinders when they give this information. So when I'm tracking it, it's a little hard to compare. The 4-cylinder, like against the Accord, that beats the Accord in 4-cylinder miles per gallon. For 6-cylinder, that's kind of bad. Okay, I'm not going to beat around the bush there. The Fusion gets 25 in mixed driving. The Sonata does 20 city, 30 highway. The Altima gets 24 in mixed driving. The Passat gets 25 in mixed driving. This gets 20.9. That's not great. Okay, let's move on.
Malibu's energy impact score ranges from a low of 12.7 for the hybrid to 17.1 barrels of oil per year for the V6. Price-wise, the base Malibu LS starts at $19,995, which is $1,000 less than an Accord and about $800 more than a Camry. The mid-level LT starts at $21,280, and the top-tier LTZ stickers for $27,445. For those eyeing up the mild hybrid, the sticker starts at $22,790. The bottom line is that the all-new Chevrolet Malibu is the epitome of a well-conceived midsize car for families, commuters, and even car critics. Malibu was selected by 45 automotive writers as the 2008 North American Car of the Year. High praise indeed. So move over, Camry and Accord. The 2008 Chevrolet Malibu is a first-rate competitor and one that no one in the market for a midsize car can afford to ignore.
Wow, interesting. So if it was 2007, 2008, 2009, and you were looking for a midsize sedan and everything we've been talking about, and you want a vanilla, I want to drive back and forth to work and I want to be able to take the family to the grocery store and on vacation, this is a fine option. This is a thoroughly competitive option. It is not, however, my top choice. And this was far more positive than I thought it was going to be, in all honesty. I don't remember this car being that good as what they said. I remember it being kind of boring. Kind of, yeah, but why wouldn't I get one of these others? And, you know, I can't help but watch this and not compare it to the Camry or the Accord, but more to the Altima. Honestly, I like this car more in hindsight. That's what it says. That's what I'm saying. And the thing is if you want to buy American, and there's the Fusion and this, that is a difference in flavor of what you're looking for. For me, at the time, this felt like an older person's car. This felt like a more boring, mundane car. The Fusion was a lot more interesting, a lot more exciting, and felt a little more European. I loved the Fusion. I think I've been very clear on that. This, because they were trying to go right at the Japanese and match them, and I think they did a good job in this review, that begs the question of why not just get the Japanese cars? And I think that's kind of what they ran up against. My opinion of this car looking back is that it was competitive, not pretty, but not ugly, and it didn't hold up as well as the Japanese cars. I don't know what else to say. I like the car. I like the styling. I like the interior. I think it's competitive. I wouldn't buy it. I don't hate it. I don't feel passionately against it. I think I would rather drive that than maybe the Sonata. I think that it's a better value than the Passat, but I don't have a high opinion of it and its ability to last for 10 years or more. And for me to not one day be sitting in the interior and just like, I don't like it anymore. It's hard for me to explain my feelings about this car more than that. It just doesn't do it for me. But I think it's an excellent example that GM can put their mind to it and come out with a thoroughly competitive car. I guess I'll also say I don't think this car was appreciated that much. But I think part of that is because I'm not sure it held up that well. Let me know your thoughts below. I'm going to stop there, but I appreciate y'all spending a little more than a few minutes with me here today. Thanks very much, and I'm going to go back and have some more beverage of necessity today. Thanks, y'all.